Marvel's Black Panther first appeared in Fantastic Four number 52 and 53 in 1966. In these issues, the FF received a highly advanced flying vehicle as a gift from the Black Panther, the chief of the small, enigmatic African nation of Wakanda. The Wakandan emissary informed the American super team that in exchange for the gift, the Panther simply asked that they visit his homeland. The four agreed, and along with Johnny Storm's college roommate Wyatt Wingfoot, they traveled to Wakanda, where they found an unheard-of mechanized jungle, while elsewhere, the Wakandan chief raised a strange statue from its underground silo and dressed himself in the garb of the Black Panther. Once the four heroes landed and disembarked their craft, the hunt began and the Black Panther attacked. First, he led the Human Torch away from the others, using his cat-like reflexes to trap him in a fireproof cell. Then, his warriors fired on the remaining three, their weapons not doing direct harm, but rather polarizing their bodies to repel each other, sending them flying in different directions, so their chieftain could hunt them one by one. He tracked Susan Storm using his enhanced senses to find her, even while invisible. When the invisible girl attempted to use her force field powers to hold off the Black Panther, his speed proved too great as he quickly closed the distance between them and knocked Sue out with a dose of sleeping gas. Next was the Thing, who had taken a drink from a nearby fountain, which was actually a trap set to weaken the Thing's otherworldly strength. The Panther was able to fight evenly with the weakened Thing, but as the larger hero's strength began to return, he slammed into a high-powered freezing machine, leaving him frozen while the Panther ran off to confront his final prey. Upon finding Mr. Fantastic, the Black Panther deactivated the lights in the area, using his ability to see through the darkness to strike at his elastic opponent. However, just as the Black Panther claimed victory, the other three members of the Fantastic Four arrived again, for during the battles, Wyatt Wingfoot was able to free the Human Torch, who in turn revived his two teammates. Now outnumbered, the Black Panther conceded defeat, and brought the four to his private room to explain his actions. While the heroes were occupied, however, a giant crimson gorilla approached the borders of Wakanda. When the monster was fired upon, it exploded into a shockwave before reforming as a massive elephant-like creature. Meanwhile, the Black Panther revealed that Wakanda contained a hidden cache of the priceless metal vibranium, able to absorb vibrations. For generations, it has been the duty of the chief of the Wakanda to protect the sacred supply of vibranium. The Panther's father, T'Chaka, was the king when a man named Klaue, wielding a weapon which could create solid objects out of solidified sound waves, came to plunder Wakanda's vibranium mound. Klaue and his men slaughtered the Wakandan warriors, including T'Chaka, whose young son knocked out one of the men wielding a sonic blaster, and pursued the outsiders. The boy found his village burning, and fired the weapon on Klaue and his men, completely shattering Klaue's right hand as they fled. In the years that followed, the boy grew into a man, and sold off small amounts of vibranium to not only become one of the richest men on the planet, but also build up the technological wonders the Fantastic Four had witnessed. He also revealed that he brought the Four to Wakanda in order to test his powers he gained from secret herbs and ancient rituals passed down from chieftain to chieftain. As if on cue, once the Wakandan ruler finished his story, the Crimson Beast reached the edge of Wakandan territory, signaling Klaue's return. The five heroes joined forces and rushed off to defend the Black Panther's homeland. While the Fantastic Four held off the solid sound monstrosities, the Black Panther tracked down Klaue himself. The two men battled, Klaue having replaced his shattered hand with a sound-powered force gun. He unleashed another sonic creature, which the Black Panther overpowered, before reaching a switch to overload Klaue's delicate machinery. The Panther escaped the resulting explosion, and, having avenged his father, promised to continue to use his powers and riches to battle against evil and injustice. Meanwhile, underneath the rubble, Klaue, having survived, pulled himself into his sound converter machine, in a final, desperate experiment. He then returned in Fantastic Four number 56 with new powers, having transformed himself into a being of pure, living sound. He attacked the Fantastic Four at their home in the Baxter Building, intending to use them to either find or lure out the Black Panther. While Klaw's new form rendered him impervious to the FF's non-lethal stun weapons, Reed Richards was able to contact the Panther in Africa, who sent via rocket a pair of vibranium knuckles, able to absorb on impact the sonic energy which gave Klaue his power. And so Klaue, the self-proclaimed master of sound, was defeated yet again. The Black Panther, meanwhile, later appeared in the pages of Tales of Suspense number 97 to 100 when the series was retitled Captain America. Here the Panther teams up with Cap against an imposter Baron Zemo who threatened the planet with an orbiting solar-powered death ray. With some help from Sharon Carter, known at the time as Agent 13, Cap and Panther defeat and unmask the fake Zemo, disabling his satellite weapon so that Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. could destroy it. It's also here in Captain America number 100 that the Black Panther identifies himself by name, T'Challa, King of Wakanda. Not long after, in Avengers number 53, the Panther visited Avengers Mansion, where he found 3 Avengers, Hawkeye, the Wasp, and Goliath, formerly Ant-Man, seemingly dead. Seconds later, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Jasper Sitwell arrived on the scene, and finding T'Challa over the Avengers' lifeless bodies, placed him under arrest. The African hero escaped, however, and tracked down the true culprit, the Grim Reaper, who was seeking revenge for the death of his brother, Wonder Man, who battled against the Avengers before. The Panther also learned that the Avengers were not dead, but merely stunned into near lifelessness by the Grim Reaper's scythe, and that only the same weapon could undo its effect. The Black Panther, of course, defeated the Grim Reaper and returned with his weapon, clearing his name and reviving the Avengers, who then enthusiastically welcomed him as the newest member of the team. T'Challa remained an Avenger for quite some time, and we even learn more about his origin in issue 87 in 1971. T'Challa recounts his background to the other Avengers, telling them the tale he already told the Fantastic Four once before, of how Klaue came to Wakanda and murdered his father, T'Chaka, in pursuit of the sacred mound containing the vibranium. Here, though, we learned what happened next. At the suggestion of his father's advisor, N'Baza, T'Challa left to study abroad, leaving N'Baza in charge in his absence. N'Baza's son and T'Challa's childhood friend, Batumba, also traveled with him so that he would not be alone, and when the two men completed their education, they returned to Wakanda so that T'Challa could take his rightful role as king, although he suspected that N'Baza had aspirations of his own. After proving himself in combat against a dozen of Wakanda's best warriors and spending a night of vigil in the Temple of the Panther God, T'Challa was allowed to access the hidden, strangely high-tech silo within the statue of the Panther Totem, containing the costume of the Black Panther. T'Challa's final task to truly claim his birthright was to climb to the top of the Great Plateau and track down the forbidden heart-shaped herb, which would bestow onto him powers beyond that of regular men. After completing his task and consuming the herb, T'Challa heard voices nearby in the jungle. Upon investigating, he found agents of the terrorist group of super scientists, Advanced Idea Mechanics, plundering the country's vibranium. With his new powers, the Black Panther leapt into action, but AIM used a sonic weapon, apparently designed by Klaue, to knock out the Panther and capture him. T'Challa was convinced that N'Baza had betrayed him to AIM, but he quickly learned that the real traitor was his friend Batumba, who, in his jealousy of T'Challa's success, was recruited by AIM during their time in college. However, when it came time for Batumba to pull the trigger and slay his friend, he was unable to do it. The two Wakandans tried to make their escape, but in the ensuing battle, Batumba was shot and killed. The Black Panther defeated the remaining AIM agents and vowed to keep Batumba's betrayal a secret. Unfortunately, the reason that T'Challa was reflective on these events and telling them to the Avengers was that he received news that N'Baza had passed away. Years later, in 1993, we learned more about the history of the Black Panther and Wakanda in the backup story of Fantastic Four Unlimited #1. In this issue, while entering the Panther Totem to meditate, T'Challa discovered a hidden journal written by his grandfather, Chanda. Within, Chanda recounts the events of when a man named Colonel Fritz Klaue came to Wakanda. Klaue was actually a Nazi who first appeared in Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos number 39 in 1967, where he battled against Nick Fury during World War II. After Klaue's defeat at the hands of Sergeant Fury, he was sent on a mission to Africa, but on the way there, he and his men were caught in an intense storm and crashed in Wakanda, leaving only Klaue alive. Chanda and his men found the injured Klaue and brought him back to his village so his wife, Nanali, could nurse him back to health. Chanda told Klaue about his people's respect for the Panther Totem, as well as his sacred duty to protect the mound of metal, which Klaue dubbed Vibranium. After gaining their trust, Klaue led a group of Wakandan men to retrieve technology and materials present on his downed vessel. While Chanda and some others were out hunting, Klaue had the Wakandans build a massive panther statue to worship, intending to use it and the weapons he gathered from his plane to control the Wakandans. Chanda stood in defiance, but Klaue fired on him and his loyal warriors, one bullet striking down Chanda's wife Nanali. Chanda fled into the jungle, climbing the cliffs of despair to hide on the Great Plateau. Tired and hungry, Chanda came across the heart-shaped herb, which he ate as he fell asleep. When the Wakandan chief awakened, he saw in the moonlight a snarling panther. The beast lunged at the man as Chanda raised his knife, impaling the jungle cat. Energized by the mysterious properties of the herb, Chanda skinned the beast and used its pelt to transform himself into a Black Panther. Returning to his village, Chanda fought and defeated Klaue, who fled, swearing that either he or his infant son would someday return and seek revenge. Chanda lowered the panther statue into its silo, trusting its location and the secret of the Black Panther to the young man who led the men that refused to bow to Klaue, Nabaza. And of course, we know the rest. Klaue's son Ulysses anglicized his name and became the man known as Klaw, while T'Challa followed in his grandfather's footsteps to become the new Black Panther. And that's basically the origins of the Black Panther and Klaw. Since these classic issues, there have been more details filled in about Wakanda and its history, of course. For example, while Chanda's experiences may have led to T'Challa taking up the role, he was not the first Black Panther, but rather it is a role that goes back generations. Also, it's established in the 2005 Black Panther series that Wakanda, despite appearing like a small country of simple villages, has always secretly been ahead of the rest of the world technologically, and has never successfully been invaded. This series also introduces T'Challa's sister, Shuri, and recontextualizes the death of T'Chaka when the story is told from Klaw's point of view. While the setting and circumstances appear very different, the important facts, such as Klaw killing T'Chaka, only for a young T'Challa to shoot Klaw with his own weapon, destroying his right hand, remain consistent. The inconsistencies in the tellings could be considered a retcon, or simply explained as the two men telling different versions of the same events, with the truth lying somewhere in between. So, did I miss anything important? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up and show your friends. In fact, get them to subscribe while you're at it. Until next time, true believers, Excelsior!